Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, man, we got a great show lined up for you. Tons of news out there. We'll get to it all. We had GDP out. I don't even believe it. I'll wait for it. Let's just say, once again, we've been telling you there's been a major shift in the economy. We were right once again. Yesterday, Jason threw out this crazy thing that, hey, maybe a lot of these ships really don't have anything in it. And I'm not making this up, but within a couple of hours, a news story broke that, yes, apparently, I don't know how many of these ships actually have nothing but empty containers on it. So we'll share it all with you and so much more. So we got a great show lined up for you. Yesterday I was talking about, hey, we're going to have our CBD sale, and it is on now. If you go to 1360khnc.com, go to the shopping cart button. When you order your CBD, if you put our call letters at the radio station, KHNC, put that in the promo code box, you'll save $5. We are going to run that until until My Kind is out of all of the CBD things that they can produce at a lower cost, and then there's going to be a price increase coming. So please order and then save. And I want to share with you an article out of the Medical News Today. And it involved a woman. There was a study with a woman in her 80s. She had lung cancer. And she refused regular treatment, right, which I'm assuming would be chemotherapy and all that other stuff. But she was taking CBD, and it's very, very interesting in the article talking about it's exactly the CBD that My Kind makes. And they said that her cancer, her lung cancer, the tumors were reducing in size. Of course, now listen, they said, well, we can't say it was the CBD per se, right? Because, we don't want to admit that. But this is why we have a prominent doctor here that is a cancer doctor. He prescribes My Kind to his patients. If you're fighting any type of cancer or anything like that, give it a shot. TiVo T, same thing. But they did highlight things that they are now saying CBD can absolutely help you with. Nerve function, which was kind of interesting because we've noted a lot of people that are, got like these pain in their hands or their knees or things of that nature, how it helps. They say it helps with appetite, something I didn't know, metabolism, pain, which, I've been a big component of. And they say it actually helps with emotion. We've had a lot of our customers say that they take the salve and put it on their forehead and helps with their anxiety. Inflammation, that's a big one. Inflammation for sure. Immune response and sleep, another one that a lot of our customers have been talking about. So if you're dealing with any of those, try it. Use the promo code KHNC, save $5. And like I said, we're giving you fair warning. A price increase is coming when the sale ends. But Jason, I got to give you an attaboy. Apparently, you're not as crazy as I thought you were, because after you made that comment about those ships, all of a sudden, bam, there's an article out saying that the port in Los Angeles, they don't know how to deal with all of these empty storage containers, Jason, and that a lot of, I don't know about a lot, but there are multiple ships out there that have nothing but empty containers on them.
Yeah, Joe, and we don't know what this means until we keep watching what's happening. And my wife is the one that came up with the theory, and so I'll take credit for bringing it to the air. She's the one that asked the question as we were driving the night before, back from dinner. And I mean, Joe, there's so many things that this could be. And one thing that comes to my mind is what if China's just not producing as much stuff? Their markets are getting ready to crash themselves, and don't bring us your empty containers. We have nothing to send back to you. That's one thing you could think of. There's so many avenues as to why this is going to be a huge problem for people, Joe.
Well, it's very interesting. They're saying that the port at L.A. Long Beach, that's the largest port in the world, 40% of the freight comes in there. Thousands of empty containers are en route to the port of Los Angeles from the ports from the East Coast. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't they just send them back there? I don't quite understand. They said over the last several weeks, up to 2,000 empty containers from the port of Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, New Orleans, Houston, all were heading to the port of L.A. And I'm thinking, okay, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's at least 4 ships, right? Just start adding them up here. The biggest hurdle we see in the market, they're saying, is the inability to return the empty containers. They're saying that customers whose warehouses can receive goods, but there's a lack of space in the yards due to stranded empty storage containers. I don't know. We'll talk a little more about that, and then we'll talk about how bad was third quarter GDP. Eight 800-951-0592, and we're talking about the huge situation in Los Angeles, and finally people are starting to ask the actual truckers, the actual port workers, and we're starting to find out this is a story that is a much different story than was originally being portrayed. We know this. And I only know it because of what the American shipper reporting. Los Angeles, the port there, is the empty container dumping ground in the country. Matter of fact, even Canada sends all of their empty containers to the port of Los Angeles. And the truckers are saying, listen, we're showing up with an empty. There's no room. There's only a finite supply of spots to put an empty container. And they're full. So the truckers are like, we can't get the empty one off of our truck to go get a full one. And they're saying that, and I asked the question, well, why wouldn't all these ports send their stuff back to China from there? And the answer is apparently the route, it's the fastest route. I mean, it makes sense, right? Okay, California's closer. And it's the fastest way to it. So a lot of these trains, too, you see these massive trains that are a mile long, and they got all these containers on them. If they're heading west, chances are they're all empty, according to this report. They're saying that despite the Biden administration's claims of the ports operating 24/7, according to the Port of Los Angeles, 50% of weekend appointments go unused. In other words, okay, we could actually have 50% more boxes leave, but they go unused because there's not enough room, or they don't know where the box is, or the truck that's supposed to pick it up has it empty and we can't get it off. During the weekdays, that number gets a little better, not much. 30% of them go unused, and apparently there's such a huge problem here. And here's what they're saying about cost: that the ships hate taking the empties because they don't make as much money as a full one. But still, if you're going back to China, right, anyway, why not get some money, throw the empties on, and make the delivery? And then this morning, we kind of got the other side of it, Jason. They actually interviewed anonymously half a dozen port workers in Los Angeles, and they're saying that the ports are such a mess, go figure, that they spend half of their time actually trying to find where the containers are that need to be loaded for that day. Because it's so full and things are everywhere that instead of unload, they actually got to stop unloading ships. Because whatever needs to be picked up that day got buried, so they got to go and restack the, I guess, just think about it, restack the containers to find the ones that need to go out for that day. And then the other thing they're saying is on these new mega ships, you need like 8 cranes could operate at once to unload them. But the ports are like, we can't operate that. The port's not designed to operate that way. And he's saying it's been such a mess. A lot of these ships are only being emptied by 2 cranes. One ship was taken on average a little over 3 days to unload. But because the ports are so congested, so full of empties, so packed in there, they're now saying to get one ship cleared, it's taking over a week.
Wow. Yeah. Well, two things. Two things. You're almost describing like my son Jack and me when I was a kid. I used to buy Legos. You used to collect Legos, right? And then when you go to like build something, you have to go through this enormous pile of separate pieces to find the thing you're looking for. So it sounds like somebody didn't put their Legos back the way they were supposed to, and now there's a mess. The other thing, Joe, is there's no accidents. This is not happening by accident. There's too many control monsters in the economic process of the world. This stuff does not happen on accident. That's just me. Somebody wants this to happen, Joe.
Yeah, and the port workers are saying something's got to give, right? We can't keep working like this. They're saying that they've never seen anything like it. The ship's taking forever to unload. Nobody knows where the cargo is. There's empty. Yeah, so the process used to take 3.6 days to unload, and now it takes well over a week. And again, I don't know. They're saying that there's 30% more traffic, Jason, 28% less workers.
Right, and part of that traffic, from what they're saying, is all the empties showing up. So I could see how stressful that would be for these guys trying to do this job. And something you didn't read is they're not talking about how they're going to get those empties out of there. Why wasn't that talked about? When are the empties leaving? Why aren't the empties leaving? I didn't hear that one in the article.
Listen, you unload, and you would think you reload the ship with empties and send it back.
Right. Or more appropriately, you load our stuff going to China, which we don't really do.
Well, that was the other thing, by the way. So let's talk GDP. You're right on it. GDP third quarter. We've been updating you, especially in the last 45 days, about how Goldman Sachs and everybody else started lowering their predictions and lowering them and lowering. Remember, just 90 days ago, they were talking about 8%. Then they said, 5.5%. And then it was 5%. And then it was 4%. GDP came in at 2%. And I'm scratching my head at this number. I have a hard time. How can that be possible? If we have fake inflation running at 5.5% just to stay even, we would need GDP of 5.5%, right? That would be, everything, prices went up 5.5%. If we bought the same amount of stuff, then 5.5% would be a flatline number. But Jason, you made the argument we're actually crashing. So 2% growth and again, what they're saying is 5.5% inflation. That's like a crash.
Absolutely. I mean, 2 to 5%. That's what is that? That's only 40% of the inflation. Yeah, it's almost like a 60% crash. I mean, as far as dollars going out and dollars coming in, that's a lot.
Yeah, it really is a very interesting thing when you look at it. And Jason said, "Hey, why don't we send all the stuff that we make to China back on these ships?" Right? Like, I'm sitting there saying, "Hey, unload the ship, put the empties on it." Jason makes a great point. Well, first, let's put our stuff that we're selling to them on it. And one of the big things in the GDP report, the amount of goods leaving the United States, in other words, exporting out, has fallen off of a cliff. They're saying that there's been a major downshift, which goes along with Jason's story, saying, hey, listen, if China's slowing down, that just means they're going to be buying less stuff. And right now, that's exactly what the GDP report is saying. They had 2% economic growth. One of the biggest detractors of GDP was the fact that the United States exports fell off a cliff, Jason.
Yeah, what little they were already buying from us went to less than that. And let's face it, China has got, over 1 billion people, going towards 2 billion people. And even if they just buy a little bit, that's a lot. And if those 2 billion people don't want our stuff, that's a lot of shipping containers ain't going out, Joe.
Yeah, and it's something where when we're seeing all of this and watching all of this play out here, and all of a sudden we realize, oh, wait a minute. Here's a big part of the problem. You know why there's empty containers everywhere? Because the Chinese have stopped buying stuff from us.
Right, and I got to go back to this number, which is Evergrande is crashing. They're going to go into default. Their number 1 and number 3 housing companies are also intertwined with Evergrande. It's a big Ponzi scheme. They're housing, and their housing. Here's the thing: with our housing crash in 2008 through 2010, you could say maybe housing property was about maybe 8% of our total GDP. I think we're at 6% now. That's what our equities, our stock market's is way bigger, way bigger. Well, in China, it's reversed. 29% of their entire economy is housing, and if this is all crashing, I mean that's 29. Joe, that's 29% of their economy could be crashing right now. And look what happened to the whole world when 8% of our GDP was crashing in 2008. It could be massive. I don't think people realize how massive this is going to be.
Well, and one of the interesting things in the report, too, was another thing Jason has been talking about. We've been talking about how Walmart, Target, Amazon, Kroger, right, they bought up everything. The change in inventories added 2%, 2.07% to GDP in the third quarter. So if inventories at the warehouses had stayed the same, GDP would have been 0. So the biggest contributor, that was actually contributed more to GDP this quarter than consumer spending, Jason.
Wow. Yeah. So, and that's if all these numbers are actually correct, because I've heard reports that the warehouses aren't full, and I've heard reports that the warehouses are completely packed and full. So, I mean, that can change that, Joe, very dramatically, depending on what's actually happening.
Yep, and then, of course, when I was talking about durable goods and really the taking a negative 2.7% off of GDP, and again, the biggest issue there is exports falling off a cliff. The trade deficit, it's the highest single number that I remember seeing. It was in the month of September, $93.6 billion in a single month. That's the amount of wealth that left the United States via trade. 93.6 billion. That would be $1.1 trillion plus if we did that every single month.
Yeah, and Joe, one thing that we talk about, and you hear on the national news, is that we don't make stuff anymore. We don't produce, but we're still the number one by GDP economy in the whole world. We still do make stuff and send stuff out. So it's not like we're England or some smaller European nation. We still produce a lot of stuff. We send a lot of stuff out. I mean, yeah, it's way less than we used to, but if we stop sending stuff out, this it's not good for the world and especially this country.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, because I got to believe, and I don't know this to be true. Okay, so I want to say this. I'm speculating when I say this. I got to believe we're the second largest producer. Right? I mean, China's number one.
Yep.
Okay, right, and by a large margin. But I got to think, we got to be pretty close, right? I mean,
yep.
We're bigger than Germany. We're bigger than France. I mean, you got to think about these other economies. You know, Japan maybe, but Japan's economy's like $5 trillion.
Well, we have a massive amount of commodities, Joe. We still have a lot of land that's untapped. A lot of commodities leave this country. So we still produce a lot of actual physical commodities. So I mean, that's not going to change as long as America still mines and produces things out of the ground, Joe.
Yeah, and crops as well. Patriot Radio News Hour. We got gold moving again. We'll be right back after these messages. $800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Gold's up $6-7 here, 1805. Silver unchanged here at 24.20. The Dow is up today. They love bad GDP numbers, I guess. I don't know. We did have pending home sales out. That one missed badly. Home sales appears now that they're going to slow again, and it normally does at this time of year, right? It's the holidays. Holiday season's coming up, so that would probably be expected. The big thing to watch, I'll tell you right now, we haven't even seen the beginning of this run on crude. And I'm warning you, I'm going to give you another warning about it. This isn't going to be that spike that we saw in 08-09 that was caused by 10 different factors, right? Remember, Libya was in civil war and was shipping out no oil. Iran, we just had punished them with the nuclear type agreement, and they weren't allowed to export any oil. We had a bunch of hurricanes come through, and it caused this brief moment where we saw this spike in crude oil. And we haven't seen the likes of it since. This time, we're going to see the spike, and then it's going to stay there. The Biden administration, absolutely horrible. Think about some of the things. Just think about it. They want to get rid of cars and fossil fuels and all this stuff by 2050. They don't want any investment in crude oil whatsoever. Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, huge oil company. They actually, think about this, they missed earnings with $80+ oil. And activists are out there, and listen, they're parading them all over CNBC and everything, wanting to break it up, saying that they have too big of a carbon footprint, and we need to break up Royal Dutch Shell. Of course, what they really want is, hey, put a bunch of crazy activists on the boards, which is exactly what all the major oil companies have been doing. There's not enough investment. Now, we've had oil's gone down from Wednesday, right? They said that, and remember, I gave you the details of it. Cushing, Oklahoma, one of the largest weekly drops ever in Cushing, which is where we need the oil. For two reasons. Number one, the Biden administration, Jen Psaki, whatever her name is, They're saying, listen, the president, he's begging OPEC to produce more oil. That sounds good if you're an idiot. If you're an idiot, then you think that sounds good. Oh, yeah, look, he's trying to. We can't do anything with that oil. That the United States doesn't really hardly get any oil at all from Saudi Arabia? I mean, it's so far down the list, it's insignificant. Almost all of Saudi's oil goes to one place, China. That's where it goes. But we're out there. Look how weak we're looking. Remember when Trump was like, "Hey, we're going to be energy independent." All of the stuff Trump put in has been reversed. All of it. And Jason, it's now going the other way. And here's the problem: the amount of oil that we can produce. When you start going out, well, what can we do in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025? Is at such a downward trajectory, these prices are never coming down.
And it really shouldn't be that way, Joe. It really shouldn't. But I remember how many weeks ago was it when Biden went to Saudi Arabia to ask for some help, and then they gave the help to India and China. Remember that one?
Right. Remember that? They lowered their price a little bit because they wanted more market. And you're right. India is another one of the major consumers. And again, and a lot of this is about refining. There's only certain types of crude that we refine here. And if you don't have that refiner, that crude is worthless.
Shouldn't you just build more refineries, Joe?
Well, that's not going to.
See?
That's like burning a coal. That's like building a coal-fired power plant. That is not happening.
I know, but it should. There's plenty of cheap energy in the ground. There's no oil shortages out there, but we got to make it scarce. We got to make the oil prices go up because there's just so little of it out there for us to have. But it's insane, Joe. There should be plenty of oil and plenty of energy, and of course the green energy thing is going to cause all of us small folk to have to pay $8 a gallon in the future for something there's an inexhaustible amount in the ground.
Yeah, and we're all, listen, here in Arizona, we're 350, 360, 370. I mean, if you found maybe there's a station here or there that's at 340, I will not be shocked if we add $1 from that. That's very, very possible. And imagine, think about if Arizona's paying $4.50, what's California paying?
Right.
6,
right.
7, right? And all of this, again, people that, I don't know what they're looking at. Listen, I love it. Hey, great. Green energy's a great thing. But you just can't come out and say, you know what, that's it. No more gas cars, no more this, no more that. And then we can't even support it. And now, because of what's happening now, the oil companies, listen, it's just like a gold mine. Let's just, gold goes to 5,000. There's some gold in the ground over here in the middle of nowhere. It takes 5 or 10 years to get it up. Now in oil, it may not take 5 or 10 years, but it takes time to go from, well, we haven't even started the well to get the well. And of course, not just time, right? You got to have the material to do it with. You actually got to have the labor to do it with. And here in the United States, once again, in our genius wisdom, right, there's less and less oil field workers to even do the job. And the bottom line is the companies are spending less and less money in getting oil out of the ground, Jason.
You basically summed it up. You got to have the supplies that the people need plentiful so that the price is low. It's once again classic supply and demand.
I'm not increasing taxes on people making more than or less than $400,000 a year. I'm just going to make you pay double and triple for gas, for utilities, for all that stuff. So don't worry. One way or the other, you're getting taxed. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Gold's up 1806, 1807 now. Yesterday we ran $20 Liberties. This ridiculous price of $2,095. We have like about 40 of them left because I bought them all. There was 100 of them. I'm going to keep the gold's up another. And listen, when I bought them, just a full disclosure, gold hit the low yesterday early in the morning of 1785. In pure dumb luck, I got this email. There was 120s out there. We hadn't had any 20s in any quantity, and I just bought them all. And then gold just proceeded to rally through that now. And so now you're like, well, it's $22, $23 from when I bought them yesterday. We've got the last 40 or so of them available, same price, $2,095. You know, that's the stone cold lead pipe lock of the week. I mean, already I can tell you it's going to be at least 2130. My guess is, this is just me guessing, if we got golds around 1810 tomorrow, probably going to be back at that 2150 level, Jason.
I think you're right, Joe. And it's, once again, I said it, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Buy gold now, and a lot of people, you'd love to buy it, and then it goes skyrocketing upwards after you buy it, and you feel really good about yourself. Better to be 1 year early on the buy than 1 day late. We don't know when things are going to snap, crackle, pop, and blow up in the markets, and you're going to feel a lot more comfortable buying it in this zone, Joe. This ridiculous, 1750 to 1900 frame it's been in. It ain't going to matter if you bought it at 1750, 1850, ain't going to matter when gold is 4,000, 5,000, 10,000. No one's going to care that you bought it at 1750 or 1850, Joe.
Absolute fantasy price. This is we're still, gold's just now coming out of, and I'm going to say like the end of the fantasy. I think third quarter GDP tells you a lot, which is, oh crap, the second the government stops sending checks out, look what happened. The difference is now we're dealing with raging inflation. How about, yesterday we told you how effective immediately. Costco just raised everyone's pay another $1. They just raised pay $1 in February. Did it another $1, effective immediately to $17. Starbucks, right after that, Starbucks, that's it, going to 17. Bank of America, listen, we're going to pay 21, and by 2025 we're going to pay 25. It's not enough. It's not enough. Here's another one, Wolf Richter. The guy's awesome. This is how bad the inflation really is. In 16 of the largest 100 cities, by the way, these are one-bedroom apartments. It's actually, when you get to single-family rentals, it's way worse than this. One-bedroom apartments. 16 of the 100 largest. Rent spiked 20 to 25% year over year. In 40 of the 100 cities, it spiked 15 to 25%. In 50 of the largest 100 cities, 10 to 25%. There was only 11 cities in the country where rents declined by any amount at all. And you know what you can probably throw on there? San Francisco, right? Portland, Seattle, right? I mean, there's a few that you can probably guess who they are. They said as a whole, one-bedroom apartments across the top 100 cities in the country, which is basically any city of any size. I mean, I think even Syracuse is on this list. That's how, how far down it goes. Apartment rent for one-bedroom apartments were up 11.8%. The Federal Reserve's telling us that rents are up 3.2%. By the way, and again, like I said, this is only the one bedroom. The number is actually worse for 2 and 3 bedrooms. And then if you throw single families in there, rentals, Jason, it's just absolutely insane what's happened. And now you start thinking about, why do all these employers, why do they got to give so these huge raises? And the answer is simple. People are like, wait a minute, I've been living here, and I did that story the other day. The rent was $2,400. Now all of a sudden I'm going to sign my rent again. Now they want $3,400. People got to live somewhere, right, Jason?
They probably needed the raises a couple of years ago. And what the government did is they sent out a bunch of free checks with the shutdown for coronavirus. And, no, they're not sending out as many checks now. And so they're kind of nudging and pushing the private businesses. Not so private if it's a big corporation, but you know what I mean, Joe? They have to go higher. And 17 ain't going to cut it. It's pretty obvious 17 that's a very lackluster number for people to pay their bills.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look at some of these places. These are 1 bedrooms. Irving, Texas. I don't even know where that is, but Irving, Texas. Up 25%, $1,270. Mesa, Arizona, up 25%. Tampa, up 24%. Knoxville, Tennessee, up 24%. Glendale, Arizona, up 23%. New York was the only one of the 10 most expensive markets where rent spiked. And in New York, think about this, New York City, 1-bedroom rent spiked 22% year over year. Of course, they had the biggest drop during COVID, so that kind of makes sense. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. Eight 800-951-0592. I guess I was wrong. Seattle actually rents went up. San Francisco, they were actually flat. Chesapeake, Virginia, Newark, New Jersey. I've been to Newark. You don't want to live there. Minneapolis, nobody wants to live there. Those led the way in declines. By the way, Denver up 21%. Colorado Springs up 21%. Aurora, Colorado, Jason, up 12%.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, things are getting more expensive all around, and this is why Patriot Trading Group does what we do, because that nest egg, that savings that you have, that money that you're holding for that rainy day, you don't want it to be eaten away with this fraudulent, corrupt money system the Federal Reserve has put together. And we offer that protection for you, Joe. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And guess what? Housing property taxes, huge increase. We've got to remember, the more the house is worth, the bigger the tax bill's coming. It's just everybody. It seems like everybody's in our wallets right now. It doesn't matter. I'm going to the gas pump. I got to get tires on the car. I got to get the air conditioner on the car serviced or whatever. Anything car service related through the roof. Then you're filling it up at the pump. You're going to the grocery store. Even have you seen the prices at the drive-thrus now? Really starting.
Yep.
Just all of a sudden, I'm like, what?
And Joe, that's what scared me the most about unrealized profits that you brought up, because it's just for the richest for now. But when it trickles down to everybody, and we have inflation, and your house price goes up, well, here comes some private property taxes coming from the federal government.
800-951-0592. The last of the 20s here. Scoop them up here. 2095 at 800-951-0592. Gold right now, 1807. Silver, 2420. The Dow losing a little. It's still up today, but losing a little bit of steam here, up about 100 points as GDP and pending home sales both disappointed. GDP growth third quarter fell all the way down to 2%. One of the biggest falls, but it makes sense, right? We had that huge first and second quarter GDP numbers because remember the government was handing out all those checks Now that the checks have stopped, guess what we're left with? We're left with dealing with the ramifications of all of the easy money. And the problem is it doesn't look like there's any let up in sight. You know, put it this way. Here's what I promise you. Rents are not going to go down 25% in February or March or June or August of next year. That's not going to happen. That's not how it works. Rents are never coming back to where they were. I think Jason's right on housing, too. Housing prices never going to go back to where they were. And the reason simply is Wall Street owns too many of them now, Jason.
And everything, all the materials to build one has just become more expensive. You can't sell existing homes for $200,000 if what it costs to build a new one is $400,000. It just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, there's a reason the average price is $400,000. Believe me, if home builders could build a house for $100,000, they wouldn't have to. They wouldn't sell it for $400,000. They will sell it for $120,000. We'll sell it for $125,000.
Yep.
They can't build it for that. They can't build it for $200,000. Heck, they probably can't build it for $300,000, Jason.
Yeah, we don't even know what that exact cost is, but I'm guessing they're either at or are breaching that $300,000 price because, you know, lumber, copper, everything else in the whole world is more expensive.
Half Empty Cup of Joe show coming up next. Don't touch that dial.